All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are going into our grand finals between Team Orca and Lilgun for the BTS Pro Series Season 10. And it is MLP johnxfire. John, the draft has begun, so I'm going to go ahead and bring that up. But how are you doing, sir, before we do start our grand finals?
Hyped as hell, Mike. Team Orca performed amazingly in that lower bracket finals. They've had a really great run here. They're facing up against a team that knocked them down. Lilgun did deliver quite the blow to them last time around, so we'll see if Orca's managed to learn. And Lilgun, if they manage to get in for their special combos, they've been given the Lycan Grimstroke, Mike. And we know Lilgun works this out really well. You know, they get the Inkswell and the Wolves, they scout around really well. The micro coming out from 423 on that hero is insane, and they've got the flexibility to run it safe, to run it off for 11 as well. They can do a lot just having this open. So I love that opening from Lilgun. Orca do opt to jump straight into the Mars Medusa. So they get the GY special Mars along with VT Faded Dusa on hand. Really strong team fight already with Arena Stonegaze. And this should be one hell of a series. Like, again, Orca's had a great run. Lilgun has been on a redemption arc as well after getting knocked out from Div 1 of the DPC in the last season, going into Tour 1 in Div 2. Looking pretty good up and down. They look set to really take Tour 2 by storm, though, Mike. It's good to see these teams duking it out here.
Oh, it certainly is, John. I mean, two teams that you wouldn't have necessarily expected to be in the grand final, especially when you had teams like T1 in here. Even teams like Execration looked alright, but these two make it all the way, and well, they've got a point to prove here, John. That's for sure. Keep in mind, this is where most teams, at least for us, a lot of SEA teams do tend to ride the momentum of Pro Series into DPC and bigger tournaments. I mean, you can remember back all the way to 4 and 5, where you saw Motivate Trust show up out of nowhere, and they started just taking over, and they were one of the best teams in SEA at one stage. Not so much anymore, but that's besides the point, John. My point is, it's a great stepping stone here for either team. And still, the draft will continue. Team Orca. I am also very shocked they gave the Lycan away, along with the Grimstroke. That's just classic Lilgun special here. We've seen what they do with these heroes, and it's just devastating to have to play against. I suppose with the Dusa Mars, you do have some very nice wave clearing. You might be able to hold high ground very efficiently, assuming Lilgun do hit their timings with that Lycan, but it's still very scary to have to try and go into.
Definitely. It's just such a solid foundation for Lilgun to play with. Orca does ban out the rest of Lilgun's repertoire there. They take off the Spirit Breaker that 11 loves to run. They take off the OD, which can be devastating with the Grimstroke. Double Astral with a Soulbind is very painful to play against. And of course, the Tiny combination with Lycan, which has been nerfed. And the Tiny in general is just a really strong hero, has some very fast timings. So Orca's covering the rest of their bases, allowing only one combination out. Remember, with the changes to the first phase ban some time ago, there's only so much you can take away. A team will be able to get one or two specialties out, and Lilgun will at least have this combo to play with. We'll see if Orca, in their confidence, will be able to play against it well. Orca do pick up that Weaver now, as we've seen time and time again. Minyo Ping had an amazing time in that last series on his Weaver.
Yeah.
We saw his ridiculous farm. We saw him basically outscaling Zephyr on his own Pos 4 in his Pos 5 Weaver. Just being like, what, 4 levels ahead at one point, having the Hex up, chasing heroes around, buying space. This Weaver is still going to be a massive nuisance coming out from Orca. And Lilgun don't necessarily have the control to stop that, Mike. They've got Phantom's Embrace from the Grimstroke, but it's likely the Grimstroke Lycan will stick together. And again, likely that might go to 11, but you could still have it on 423 on safe. The Weaver is still going to be pretty annoying to deal with in lane, no matter what happens here.
Yeah. We'll see what Lilgun does to try and respond to this. I mean, I suppose the Weaver's even a nice deny pick away from Lilgun as well, because with the Grimstroke combo, it can be quite devastating to have to go into. But have a think though, Lilgun, into that reserve time, only about 1 minute 10 seconds left. Try and make these choices. Because we haven't really commented on the fact that Orca are going to have that natural momentum behind them right now. Just 2-0ing, and well, there you go. Snapfire, Sanking is the two heroes picked up here from Lilgun. Sanking has been making somewhat of a reappearance into the meta recently, and it's been doing a great job. So very happy to see it come out here for Lilgun. And of course, the Snapfire, John, it just never feels like it's left the meta.
No, certainly not. You still have a lot of damage coming through. We saw, I believe, Orca use it really well in the last series as well. So Yif knows the in and out of those, and that hero Orca should understand what they have to do against it. But you have some really solid team fight coming out from Lilgun. You've got the Kisses, Burrow Strike, Epicenter on hand. You've got a very strong laning presence from Sand King, plus Snap, double stun. Cookie Burrow Strike is going to be really effective to keep that Dusa down. And I think Lilgun are shaping up to get that aggression they're known for online just from the laning phase. They've got some really strong laning combinations, a lot more control in comparison to what Orca has. Right now, Orca only really has, in laning phase, Spear as their main source of control. That's it. Whereas for Lilgun, that's already 3 stuns on hand, 4 stuns on hand, and it's just a lot that they have to be aware of. And I think Lilgun are just going to, again, look to hit those early timings here, might play a lot faster. I mean, they're up against Dusa. If the Dusa gets shut down early on, we saw last time, if it doesn't get the room to grow, it will have a hard time in the late game if it doesn't get the item advantage going.
No, I certainly agree with that, John. I mean, it's not quite as strong as it once was, right? Like in this new patch, it's still very potent, but not like a guaranteed victory that it was if you did get to the late game as this Dusa. Still, Lilgun, final pick for them now, but we've got to go through some more bans before we can finish off these drafts. It does seem like Lilgun are lacking a mid lane, and I could say the exact same thing about Team Orca. Anything stand out for you here, John? You think there's any big picks that either team could make for these mid pickups?
You've got certain options left. Ember is probably a big one for both sides. We've seen that here just really get a lot of emphasis with the changes to Sleight of Fist, really strong in lane. You have the option for Kunkka for both sides, also in the pool, not been banned out surprisingly. I suppose when you think about it, neither side's really known as a big Kunkka team, although Citrus does play pretty mean Kunkka, and I'm sure Lilgun Sanctity can also play it really well. So they've got a lot of room to kind of work this out here, and I'm keen to see what will come out. Sorry, I just got worried I disconnected because the reserve time of Lilgun was going and my internet's been up and down. So I actually thought I just disconnected out for a moment while they were taking their bans there.
That's all right, John. We appreciate the good old PLDC. Well, I know you're not with them anymore, but I've got to reference them every time. I've got to reference them every time because you might not be with them, John, but many people out there are, and well, they're still suffering. That's for sure.
Yeah, it gets worse. It always gets worse. There's always worse, Mike. Still, the bans are coming through. Orca take care of the Monkey King. So taking off maybe a bit of a flex for Lilgun. Again, the Lycan can go anywhere. The Monkey King could be mid safe. We have seen Lycan mid a couple of times before from Lilgun, I believe. Very rare. They tend to prefer it in the side lanes, but it can work out. Love the Kunkka ban, as we mentioned. Lilgun does take it away, and the Amber does come out. So look at that, Mike. I know what I'm talking about. Those heroes do come out some way.
That's a very good guess, John. I can tell by your tone that sometimes you chuck a bit of a hero name in there. You draw a name out of the hat, hoping for the best. Hey, this is deep analysis, We've moved past the circles for now. And I'm not talking about the circles now. It's serious mode, although circles are serious as well, Mike. You can't underestimate the circles you have. I think your I want to say virus of circles is spreading as well, Jonathan, because I couldn't help but notice some other casters were using some circle analysis in some other games in some other tournaments the other night. So I was very upset to hear it. Let me tell you, John. I could not believe what I was hearing. So there you go, Jonathan. You've spread your message out there, and I don't know if it's for the good or the worst, but you've done something, John. Congratulations.
Oh, you know what else is going on here for Lilgun? They've got a mainly red draft, although I guess Grimstroke is a weird one because he's actually blue-skinned. He's red. He's wearing red, all right? An Orca, they cut something to break it. They get the Necrophos out, so Citrus Necrophos coming out on the mid up against the Ember's Spirit. That's an interesting lane. I'm trying to recall what Crest would say. It's not too bad for Necrophos. You do have a lot of sustain coming out in the laning phase. The Ember doesn't feel too bad as well. Again, changes to Flame Guard, allows his shield to stand and clear out the creep wave a lot better. It will tend to be a farming lane for both sides. I think Citrus will have enough to play with to sustain himself. Small camp's going to be important for both sides as well. You do have rune control advantage on the Ember just because he's much more mobile. Even by just move speed, Necrophos is not the quickest. Still, interesting way to close out the draft. I think overall, I would lean Lilgun's way. I think they've got the mobility and aggression lined up their way, knowing their playstyle. They should be able to overrun Orca. And for Orca's end, just your win condition on Dusa, it just feels like, again, if you don't win out on laning, or at least get that initial space for VT Faded here, Nat Medusa can fall behind really fast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It should be a fun game number 1 of this best of 5. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, it is a best of 5. Nino has messaged me telling me I've got the wrong overlay on. I know,
Nino
I know.
messaged you.
Yeah, I mean, Nino
messaged
messaged me. All right, give Nino that. He tried to get in there quick before everything, before we went into the game. So, shout out to Nino. It pains me to say it, John. Shout out to Nino out there. Finally doing his job. It's good to see.
He's going to have a lot of words in our group chat later on, Mike. Still should be an interesting game coming out here. I didn't quite manage to find out. Are we in agreement? Do you feel the same way about Orca's draft here, Mike, or am I just a bit crazy here?
No, I think I'm with you, John. I mean, my big thing is, how does this Necrophos go, right? Like, I know Crest is probably out there somewhere, complaining about how bad this hero is right now and whatever else, but Citrus is a great player, John. I'm wondering how he does do on this Necro and what he can get done. When I look at Lilgun's draft, it's just so much easier to execute, and when they get that signature cheese Lycan pick, it's becoming one of those rules I always come up with, John. Do you really bet against Lilgun Lycan?
No. You really shouldn't. Especially Lycan and Grimstroke. I think just the combination of that is the scary part for the side of Orca. I've heard some people debate that Necrophos is actually better. Crest would be in complete disagreement. He does not like the Reaper's Sight. Just because, I mean, you get a lot of regen, but your strength gain is still atrocious at 2.3. You almost always never go for strength items on this hero anyway. Unless you're snowballing, you can buy a heart. So you don't have that much EHP to play with. And that regen doesn't matter too much when you have burst damage on hand. And it does feel like Lilgun will have that with the control and output they have on their heroes.
The battle down bot, it seems. There is some damage flying out. Burrow Strike is there from 11, but VT faded and Menu Ping gonna keep chasing him down. He should be able to make it, but Menu Ping with that bonus move speed is gonna be able to move in again and get another right click off. Kishka will be there though with the Scatter Blast to slow him down, and well, 11, it's a pretty rough laning start for him as there's no salves available from either himself or the Snapfire. You can already see the courier flying out, but he is going to have to play a little bit slower, at least at the start of this lane.
And that little movement for 11 not only cost him regen, they don't get to cut the tree line. And this is the big difference for a Treant. When he has that tree line on the left side of the lane to play with, he can run up, get his right click off. It's very painful for a Sand King at level 1 to deal with that. And there's just no room to keep using that Calling Blade for 11. He has to focus on that CS now. We saw Orca do this against the Treant of Whitemon, and this time they managed to secure that lane for Minyo Ping, so he's set to have a good time here.
Absolutely. Of course, over in the mid lane, 4-2-3, playing the mid Lycan against Citrus. Interesting way to play the Lycan, not going for the safe lane matchup. I suppose, though, for the Ember, you'd rather not have Ember against Necrophos, because it's just not a lane you win, at least in this meta. So they send the Lycan there instead. And I suppose as well as that, you don't really want to go against GY's Mars as the Lycan either.
Yeah, it can be pretty painful for the Lycan. The wave clear is pretty good from the Mars, but I'd argue that a Necrophos also has good wave clear with the Death Pulse. It's not as bursty onto the Worlds. And you can just run up, right-click Citrus. He can't do much once he pops that Death Pulse. Lycan is tanky. He can counteract that aura, the Heartstopper aura, with his Feral Impulse. So it does work out to be a lot better for Lilgun in terms of managing the lane. I just wonder if they can get the strong combinations they need with a Grimstroke on that other lane. You don't have the Wolves to micro around this time around. You have to kind of risk your Ember coming in with a Sleight of Fist, very well timed for any kill opportunity, so this should slow down the top lane with that shift out here.
That it should. For now, Sanctity having a pretty rough time. I mean, only 5 CS, but still plenty of time to catch up as Yif is going to find his courier now. Sanctity does get the items he wanted off that courier, but that'll be down for another minute. In the meantime, Ace 12 just trying to focus on that pull for the small camp, but Yif, he's going to intercept, but he can't stop the pull from happening. He's going to have a bit of a fight over these creeps now, and I'd say Yif should have a pretty decent advantage in being able to take most of these creeps. One of those things, like, you really want to hit that earn timing into the Spirit Vessel here if you are this Weaver. You might not get as much value here for Yif with that Vessel build up, but it just allows you that solo pick-off potential as that support Weaver, and we've just seen it over and over again. It just does so much work if you're able to get it at a world time.
Yeah, you just have so much presence. You can really pressure the back line with that DOT and take off a lot of the durability you might be looking for on Lilgun, especially on that Lycan. So let's see if Yif can get that working. So far, though, the lanes are shaping up Orca's way. They've managed to really find their angle, although...
He needs the Fairy Fire up there on the Lycan. Citrus coming back in. He saw him turn back around, so 4-2-3 is going to juke out with the salve. He's going to make it out without taking any damage. So the salve will just continue going all the way for this Lycan, but Citrus now really looking to bully him. Does continue with these death pulse. And this Lycan, I mean, for now, is getting shut down quite heavily. Top lane, though, Sanctity able to pick up the first blood and immediately get started with the voice lines. Considering how rough of a start he had in the top lane, that bonus goal is going to help him quite a lot. In fact, he might have another, but a nice spear away from GY. Not going to allow it.
Yeah, they still have a lot of ways of playing defensively here on the side of Orca that you have to watch. Yourself giving a snowball start to an Ember, they can be really aggressive early on. Still, Yif is back up.
Great setup. It's just so easy with this damn support weaver, isn't it, John? It's almost sickening to watch how easy it is to set up something when you've got full vision with that damn swarm.
Yeah, you can just run down, you can line up your spell use through fog, and the minus armor really helps that God's Rebuke as well. There's a lot of value for Yif in that lane. Overall, even start in terms of kills, you are still seeing that laning advantage in terms of farm coming out from Orca. They've got the CS lead. I am worried about how much Citrus is getting. Like, this is not a good lane for 4-2-3. He has to play in the jungle. This is stalling out his Dominator timing, Mike. And the one thing with Necrophos I think most people don't really understand fully is that it plays like Shadow Demon in lane, Shadow Fiend in lane, if you think about it. He's very CS reliant. Look at Citrus' CS, 32-12. He's getting max value from Heartstopper Aura every time. There's no way for 4-2-3 to trade in that lane.
Hate to be that guy, John, but I feel like every mid lane is very CS reliant. But I see your point. Thank you for that, Jonathan. Just have to be a pain in the ass and just, you know, just correct you. Well, not really correct you. You are correct. Menu ping, though. Bot lane is not correct, John. He will go down. 11 does catch him out on the Sand and he's had a great time on the Sand John. We saw him have to wait out the salve with the courier earlier on once the game started, but he's still 28-0. He has a kill going for himself now in that train, and his farm's going just fine.
Yeah, SK is building up, but you're not slowing down the Medusa. So I think that's a trade-off you're getting. Sure, your SK is farming well, but the Medusa's not slowing down from this laning phase, and that means with Dragonlance up later on, VT Faded will have a lot of room to play in the jungle, and he will be able to keep up pace and perhaps out-farm the side of Lilgun. None of them really flash farm for that long. I guess you might be able to do that for 4-2-3, but there is some pressure here on Lilgun to play a lot faster. And with this kind of start, VT Faded won't really mind that mid-game power spike because he already has a pretty good launching point to build up here.
Well, that he does, John. That he does. Man, Citrus just... I keep looking back at the mid lane. He's just so dominant right now. 44-14. He's got a Midas queued up, interestingly enough, and I don't know if I agree with the Midas pickup, but I guess when you've had this good of a start, you may as well just keep escalating. It's not like Necrophos is necessarily a flash farmer anyway, so it's a nice way of getting that bonus XP and gold going your way every so often. This top lane, Spear is going to land onto the Grimstroke with the Inkswell. It's not going to matter, they have the swarm damage from Yif. Sanctity now trying to back himself out of there, but Yif just keeps going. GY doesn't have a spear yet, but he has Soul Ring and a spear now available, and they outplay him. Sanctity gonna drop. Yif immediately out with the tip. That was a real great bait play there from our Weaver.
Yeah, playing on edge, using that Fair Fire really well. One issue for Ember in this lane is, without Flame Guard, your wave clear is not as great, and Sleight Fist is nice. They are playing with the Wolves up top. It's only Ace 12 in the Wolves, though. I don't know if they have enough for this.
You really see that bonus armor coming into play, John. GY is literally just taking no damage from those Wolves. He's perfectly fine.
Will come later, when you least expect it.
He's just fine to back himself out now as no real threat at the moment. Mid lane Wolf form was actually popped by 4-2-3. I believe he may have just needed to get away. Highly doubt he was trying to kill Citrus here. And speaking of the devil, Citrus, he does have the Midas up now.
It's a fast timing. Like, it's 7.5 minutes basically when it was flying out with the boots and null talisman. That's just perfect.
He even got the ocean
scaling up.
He even got the ocean heart. He's not using it, but if you're low now, John, you just switch the Ocean Heart in.
Pretty much. Like, nothing to stop you. And again, every single time you find a CS, you find a deny, you're just going to regen even more. Necrophos is such a snowball sort of hero in terms of lane control. And that's in full effect. A level above 423, Dominator still stalled out. You have the Midas to clear out the Dominator creep if you time it well. So you are getting value and counteracting Lycan in that sense as well, Mike. A little bit of utility to stop that Dominator.
You love to see it. VT Faded being forced in the jungle a bit earlier than I think he would have liked as well here on the Deucer, John. I mean, he is still going to be able to flash farm on that Deucer, but you would have preferred at least the Draglance to be up. He's not playing GY. Going to be targeted, but he does have the arena down. Inkswell is going to land, however, and with the Remnants forward, they will have enough to get the Mars down into Yift or get another. Sanctity. I'm just waiting for the tip to come out, and there it is. There it is.
You gotta love these boys. Both of them feeling it right now, trying to prove a point, and that's some great kills coming out from Sanctity. Our Ember is doing really well. In terms of net worth, not that great though. He is finding kills, but he's, what, number 5 in total net worth. He's sort of behind VT Faded, way behind in comparison to his own offlane Sand King. Not the hero you want to be ultra farmed at this point. So we're gonna have to see how much more it'll take for Sanctity to build up. He is going for the Battle Fury. And we've seen this build a couple of times now. It does feel like the Battle Fury is such a mixed bag. Because the damage output in the creep wave is higher, sure. It feels like you're going to be reliant on dataless crits as the game scales on to really get that damage. It's not like you want to stand and right-click for the entire fight. Ember is very vulnerable when he's showing his actual self. So we'll see if Sanctity can start to farm a lot faster, get the build-up he needs, and maybe even some stacks down line to help that Ember hit his spike down the line.
Group up at top. I mean, Lilgun, they've got 11 here on the Sand King, and he does have a very early blink timing.
Rice is nice.
Nothing going to come out of it, though. Not quite yet. You've got the Ink Blink Swirl Burrow Strike combination between Ace 12 and 11, so if they see anyone, apart from maybe if you can just Sakuchi away, you basically got a guaranteed kill, but they aren't going to bother even trying anymore. So 11, I mean, great timing on the blink, but not able to find any way to use that utility. It's going to have to just kind of go back down to the bot lane and maybe trying to set up for the tier 1 bot tower. Mind you, you are up against a Train Protector, so Menu Pig's going to do his absolute best to delay this as much as humanly possible. But with the Dominator around, there's only so much you can do as a Treant these days. Like, the armor's nice, but without that crazy heal going, it's probably not going to be enough. In fact... Oh... Citrus with the illusion. Very, very nice from the Necrophos. Does waste 2 abilities, 2 ultimates here from Lilgun.
That should let them secure the bot tier 1, and I think the map space is more important for Lilgun compared to the kills. They'll have a little bit more control down bot, they'll have an area for them to farm up and shut away Orca from getting any place. Orca themselves aren't set up for a counter push. They can't shove in top, their push potential with their heroes isn't that high, especially with a Necrophos from mid. So the point now for Lilgun is to use this map control advantage and start finding some bigger kills with that setup.
Mid lane, Yif. He's going to Sakuchi out at the right time. They're looking for that Blink Burrow, 11, not able to get it. Bit of a hit and miss here for Lilgun. Because in the meantime, they are just going to be waiting out 4-2-3 to have that helm of the Overlord. But, you know, in retrospect, John, his net worth is really suffering. 4.1k to the 5.8k of Citrus, and I suppose you've already pointed this out, but the timing's not going to mean as much anymore for Lilgun. It'll still be very potent. Certainly not as potent as it would have been, though.
No, definitely not. And you can see Lilgun do feel that pressure, knowing that some of their timings are thrown off. They're just piling on 4 heroes mid. They want that push. They know they need to commit up against the tree, and the side of Orca are sort of showing they're ready to defend. GY's around, he's got the arena to shove them away, and that should maybe slow down the process, but we still have that blink initiation on 11 here.
And in we go, 11 is out, Inkswell will connect with the epicenter, it's going to be so much damage, GY, he barely goes down, as Overgrowth is there, they might be able to catch 11, but not within the Sandstorm. They just want to hold that mid-tier 1 tower. And they'll successfully do so. Even with losing GY, they just don't have enough to keep going.
They don't have the output just yet. And that living armor provides a lot of bonus armor now. It is at 9 at level 3, so you need to really commit to get that kill onto the objective. They do have the Troll Summoner with Raise the Dead in the rally, so that should speed up the process. What a lovely, lovely neutral, Mike.
That seems very balanced to me, John.
Look at that! it's gone.
Well, this is where I was going to kind of go back at you when you told me Ench Chen isn't good, John. I was going to be like, well, hold on a minute. What about the skellies? What about all the skellies you can get?
True, true. I think it's still vulnerable to, once you show an Ench, if Mirana's not banned, just get Mirana. In comparison to, say, Doom. That's where my argument stems from. Doom, you can't arrow Doom and stop him. He'll always have the skill. He'll always eat new creep. But Ench has been popular. Not in this game, though, Mike. Still, seeing as it breaks out.
Well, that's a big jump. With the Mortimer's Kisses, look at the damage. No mana shield was up. So VT Fader takes all of it, as they might get Ace 12. It's just nowhere near worth the trade for Orca. Big, big losses here for the Radiant team, and Lilgun, they'll be happy with that one.
Yep. Nice pickup, keeping VT Fader down. And again, we've seen what happens to Adusa, who goes off to a rough start. They can't... The map, as it grows smaller, means Adusa's build-up also gets a lot slower. You're seeing VT Fader forced to run in for these defensive fights sometimes as well, especially on that mid. He needs to use that Stone Gaze, but he doesn't have damage output to follow through. And while all of that happens, Sanctity's actually getting all the space in the world up top to keep farming. He's got the Battle Fury flying out soon enough, still lacking the Ring of Health and Voidstone. And Perseverance has to come in, but he's having a much better time to do so. Not what you expect when you're up against Ember. Like, the Ember shouldn't be farming this well, but Sanctity, again, given the space he needs by his team.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. They might catch him now, though. GY, looking for a spear attempt, is not going to catch him. Nice attempt, though, from GY. Just trying to get as close as possible to catch him in the Remnant, but with that, of course, Sanctity just going to rotate back into the jungle, and he'll keep the farm up. Pure right-click build as well, which is what you love to see. Literally no points in Flame Guard on the Ember.
No.
You'd think that would help him farm a lot faster, right? But I guess why even bother? Like, once you put the Battle Fury up, you're going to have so much damage with an Orb of Corrosion on top of that. It's just going to be too much for Orca to handle for the next, say, 10-15 minutes.
Just the output of Sanctity is going to be pretty scary. Is kind of isolated here, though.
Oh, he is. Overgrowth is out. GY doesn't actually have Spear available right now, so he's going to be able to get away. Wow, they just didn't have the follow-up.
Yeah, I mean, even Reaper's Sight was on cooldown for like 15 seconds or so, so they didn't have that hard lockdown to commit. They will be able to find the top tier one in exchange, but look at the movement here from Lilgun.
Not VT Faded, not again. They've got to find a way to protect this guy. He's going to die a second time. Mana shield up or not, John, with the Mortimer's Kisses, it's too much damage.
Yeah, it really is, and that's just some great movement from Lilgun. They see the commitment top, they know the triangle is likely the point where VT Faded's farming as they flank in from bot. So it just removes all the possibilities. They find a big kill. Sanctity lives. And now you have a less than 1k lead in Lilgun. Not the biggest. Orca are going to look to jump in. They need to use this Reaper's Sight. We haven't seen one yet from Citrus. He does have one stack up, but we need more.
Sanctity. Find somebody, GY. He'll find the snap. So you do have one, and the Reaper's Sight is going to ensure that Kishka is gone, but now 11 going to move in, back in onto GY with the Soulbind. It's going to hold both of them together in the epicenter. Yule's up from Citrus, but it may not matter now because 423 has joined in. Stone Gaze will be popped to try and hold them back. And it might just be enough, but no, Sanctity, he wants to keep going. Chains around, they've got the Necrophos trapped up. In fact, never mind him.
Ooh.
They'll go after the Weaver first. A great Burrow Strike out from 11, but they have not focused the same target, so they won't have enough damage.
Small mistakes coming out, but Orca does manage to at least pull back, save their big cores, and still find a little something for their trouble. Not the biggest kill they'd want out of that smoke play, but it's still a Reaper Sight kill. You've got 12 permanent HP regen bonus, 4 mana regen on Necrophos. Feels a lot easier to just keep spamming out that Death Pulse and keep shoving the waves away. Let's see what Lilgun's gonna get up to next. I believe that should be the Perseverance coming out for Sanctity. Full Battle Fury up. Damage is going to be a lot better now as well, and he's going straight to the Orb of Corrosion. So the minus armor, the slow, will be on top of that. This is where you really worry about VT Faded. I mean, the lead of Sanctity isn't that big over to do so. With a Battle Fury, it's going to grow a lot faster now, Mike.
will, John. That it will. Scouting out with these wolves. Here comes the helm of the Overlord, John. Menu ping. Run, sir, run. He's burning alive. Burn the trees down, they say, and Menu ping's gone. This is why you can't keep Lilgun like it. Because they just constantly scout out with the wolves, and as long as somebody else is around to follow up, they've got plenty of damage.
Oh yes, they really do. I believe that the game change, remember that little ini file change to allow you to micro creeps a lot easier by group selecting and tabbing? That works on Lycan as well. It works on any grouped unit, so we've seen 423 just play around with his micro really well to get that scouting, and they can get that shove in. With the Overlord up, you can't just might at this ancient dragon anymore, and it's going to force some response here.
I think Menu ping's about to cop it again here, John. Unless they don't feel like diving tier 2s, Menu ping might actually be able to get himself out. I guess he can't really protect the tier 2 tower though. Lilgun gonna take that tier 2. They'll take the outpost. And again, in the meantime, Sanctity's just been farming. Still out farming BT Faded on the Medusa, which is just something I wouldn't think I'd be saying when it's Ember vs Medusa and now bot lane. They've got Menu ping on the Treant, and from a mile away they just knock him out with the stroke of fate. And all the creeps from this Lycan. It's just this massive power spike. How do you slow them down now?
You've got to play as maybe a unit of 4. Like, you have to see the Mars really set up with a Blink Arena. You need to see that come into play, catch some key targets. But it just feels like the follow-through or the commitment from Lilgun with their own Blink initiation on the Sand King's a lot easier to pull off because of that instant follow-up on the Inkswell. So finding a good angle is a bit difficult for GY this game. Inside of Orca, the best thing they can do is stem the bleeding. Give that space to VT Faded. He's been playing top. He's been shoving in that lane. He has been keeping up somewhat in farm, but as we mentioned, Mike, Sanctity is still pulling ahead on the Ember. Desolator coming up next.
VT Faded! This time around they've got the help, but is it going to be enough? Overgrowth is there. They'll lock down the Sand King, and it might just be, in fact, VT. He's got no mana.
Oh.
Citrus, GY, they're in trouble. Here comes the Lycan. They will get Ace 12 at the least, but they are going to lose Citrus, and they will lose GY. And that was actually a decent team fight for Team Orca, because that time they were ready for it. But it still ends up being a 2-for-2, and Lilgun still ends up getting the better side of that trade.
Yeah, and if Lilgun had their entire lineup there, if Sanctity was in a lot closer before that fight broke up, that might have gone an entirely different way. They do at least find a punishment onto the Sand King, and they do manage to protect VT Faded, so the Medusa is getting a little bit of that AoE gold flowing its way, not quite enough to close that disparity. 2k lead for Lilgun is not the biggest, to be fair, so Orca still has a lot of room to play here, but you just watch Lilgun's movement. They're always all across the map, they're always looking for kills, they're not resting at all, and they still maintain that net worth lead they have without farming too much.
Yeah. I love the fact that Sanctity has the Brigand's Blade as well, John. Like, he's got so much damage. Like, that Brigand's Blade, it gets kind of ridiculous how much amp damage you do. And with Sleight of Fist on top to... Oh my... It's just too much. This item's too much on a hero like Ember, who's gone the right-click build.
Oh yeah. So much efficiency with Sleight of Fist out. And it's going to get worse once the Desolator is up. And the Blink's up, just so mobile on top of that. Or Lilgun just constantly running around looking for a smoke play now. Only Yif showing top. Weaver's not the biggest target, but if you can crush him down, it's still a kill.
Very easy kill at that, John, with the Inkswell. They don't need the epicenter. It's something. And of course, with that death, you've either got Roshan to go back to, or you can try for another tier 2 tower. 423, he might try for the tier 2, or instead they might just invade the triangle. Start setting up for Roshan.
Yeah, they've locked in their control here. They've got a nice Granite creep fighting its own people in the camp as well. And the side of Orca don't have much room to play with. They're playing on the bot jungle. They're still trying to get that build-up they need on the Medusa. And the catch-up has been coming through for VT Faded. Number 3 net worth now. Still about 2,000 gold behind, 1,000 gold behind. Not the greatest feeling, but you are hitting the points where you're going to find a couple of stat items. You're going to get the Scotty up. Still, Roche has opened up for Lilgun, as you mentioned, taking control of the triangle. Should be able to get work onto that Roche. Not going to take too long for them to find that objective. So you get the pause for lag, but Who paused? It was Lilgun that paused, but VT Faded who disconnects. Interesting.
See how long this one takes. I mean, obviously, you know, internet is internet, John. Which is funnily enough, because you and I were just having a conversation about me potentially thinking about moving to SEA, right? And my biggest fear is, right, because you said go to Manila. And my big thing is, well, is the internet good enough? Right? Like, I don't know. Because you keep telling me stories about all these terrible internet providers. Now I don't know where to go.
Well, they're all terrible, Mike. It's all about finding a location where one of them is not that terrible. And
Right.
so it really depends on a case-by-case, almost street-by-street basis, I think, in the case
Wow.
of Manila. So you definitely have to find out. And Manila's a big place, Mike. So
What if I
sometimes all of them are just bad in the same area. You can't
What-
do anything about that.
What if I brought just some of the MBM blokes over? Like, maybe we could fix it, John. my brother-in-law works for the
Oh, that's
NBN.
hilarious,
We've got the MBM boys. Can we bring them over, John? You know, at least for my house, John. Let me set up my internet. Is that possible?
No, Mike, no. So this is what I suspect Philippine internet's issues are. You've got bad lines, which are slowly being rectified. A lot of the copper is being fiber to home slowly. Then on top of that, the throughput to connect, let's say around 90 million people connected to the internet over your servers to process those requests and transfer them through international lines on the IPX, the Internet Protocol Exchange or whatever.
Right.
I don't know where the endpoint issue is, if it's just the lines or the IPX themselves, because I have a feeling it's all of it. It's the ISP servers not able to handle that bandwidth. It's the lines being bad in some area. It's the Philippine IPX being out of date. It's a combination of everything being bad, Mike. So it's a pick your poison thing. At the very least, you can control the line quality depending on location. Beyond that, if it's bad, it's bad. What can you do?
Well, I mean, there's plenty of countries for me to go to, John. I thought, you know, Manila might be good considering you're there. Well, you're not in Manila, which is
I'm
ironic.
not in Manila, no.
No. But I would
I'm
literally
down
drag
south.
you out of your house and bring you to mine, John. You're living with me now. That's what I'd say to you, John.
Oh yeah, for sure. That'd be a fun time, you know, in Manila, right
Yeah.
next to team houses.
Yeah.
We could make the trip down to Pampanga, say hi to the Boom Boys. You could say hi to TNC, T1 when they move into to the Philippines as well. Would be nice, you know.
What if-
Get a karaoke session with everyone. That would be fun.
Well, what if I could move? I could come in and have dinner with you and Japoy. Is that possible? Like, do you think he'd invite me if I was there, John? Or...
For sure.
I don't know if he
That
would.
would definitely happen.
He seemed very
I think
interested in
he
you
would.
in particular, John. He didn't even mention it to me.
I'm sure he would. He's just a really shy boy, you know. In the interviews, he's always hesitant to answer, even though I try to coax him out. He's just a shy young guy, and you're this, you know, alpha-looking male with a beard. And
Thank
you've
you,
got
John.
the foreign accent. It intimidates him, you know. He's just intimidated by how awesome you are. That's it.
Wow. Sounded very sarcastic, John. Thank you for that. So we are going to go into the Roshan now, Lilgun. Quick reconnections are here.
They back off.
They do.
I guess the pause, you know, with that length of pause time, they figured Orca would figure out Roche is probably happening. Scans are out as well. They are chipping away with creeps, but no, they walk in while the scan's up. So Orca with her smoke might find a good angle here.
They may. It's very hard when the Sanking's outside of the pit, though, because the counter initiation is always going to be there from 11 and 4-2-3. So Sanctity, he's just doing it by himself with the creeps off the Lycan. They are going to scout it out with the swarm, to be fair. So they know what's happening. It really feels like it's all up to GY to have the perfect initiation this team fight. It's easier said than done, though. There's too many targets to try and aim down. And Lilgun, they know this. They're just going to rush them. Into their triangle they go. The Radiant needs to be very careful of Sanctity. He got caught out for a second, but it's all bait. It's all a distraction, so Lilgun can sneak their way into that triangle. Back in on BT
no.
baited. They got the Medusa again. Soulbind is there to hold them both down as well with the Reaper sight. It's going to lock down Sanctity. They want that Ember dead, and they're going to get it, but BT faded. He will be traded along with GY. Oh, that's not what you want. It's still a 2 for 2. Maybe they can keep this going. 11 almost dying. As he will try for the TP out and does make it. It does feel like a favorable trade once again for Lilgun. but it does put a halt to the Roshan, and that's maybe all that Orca need right now.
Yeah, they're gonna stall out Roche for a bit. There's a double damage down bot though, Mike. So once the Ember respawns, they could just get it, maybe even give it to 423 on the Lycan, and go back again. No issues there. We are just seeing that issue. Like, just Lilgun understands what they have to do. They had that really good wards down, and they just keep going.
Yep. Look at this, Kishka. He's doing it by himself. He will get punished though. Yip, he's there with the Rod of Atos. Krish is still kind though with the Scatter Blast, and now 11's gonna show up. He's gonna have to back off a little bit. Citrus still very scary, but you do have the Epicenter. If you want to play along with that, and it does seem like 423 do, or rather Lilgun, they'll move in, John. They bring the Skellies this time. Look at this. Roshan now gonna have to experience the balance.
It's just dying. They're not even putting heroes in. And that rally aura, man, it stacks with itself 3 bonus damage. If you have a bunch with your own heroes, and there's that DD for Sanctity as well, not gonna take long. They still have Arena though, Mike. They could try to make a blink play for GY.
They could try. Swarm will be there. GY, he's in. Spear is out, catching out the Sand King, but he's within that Sandstorm, so he's fine. Kishka though, I can't say the same for him, but he's still alive. In the meantime, Soulbind and Overgrowth has been committed, but nobody's dead quite yet. Sanctity's gonna be just fine as now the Mortimer's Kiss is coming from the side, and they're onto the tree. That'll be menu ping. And it seems as though BT Faded has been left to die alone.
Balance in all things.
John, they didn't kill the Snapfire. Kishka got away with a slither of HP and somehow managed to get the full duration kisses off.
Yeah, they were just in a bad spot. GY jumping in, not contesting the Roche itself, wanting to force the fight and split it up. With the Arena, it didn't do enough. And it just boils down to, again, a lack of damage, a lack of follow-through to the control. They got pretty decent overgrowth. They have the Rod of Atos trying to do some work. It's just not enough. Where's your damage coming from in this lineup from Orca? Because it's not coming out from VT Faded yet. He only has the Ultimate Orb and a Mantis style with the Dragonlance Power Treads. Compared to Sanctity, Desolator, Orb of Corrosion, Battle Fury up, with that Brigand's Blade even in the phase boots, he has a ton of right click. Lots more presence, and he can just clean up. They are having issues cleaning up Citrus. The Lotus Orb has been giving him a lot of survivability, but beyond living through these fights, he doesn't do much. Maybe get a Reaper's Sight off, and that's it.
Still, Team Orca in a very awkward position now. That pun was not intended, by the way, John. Sanctity. Wow, that was quick. That'll be 1 life.
Yeah, that's also Reaper's down for 2 minutes. So it's a trade-off. You don't have that secondary life on Sanctity. You do know that the one big lockdown Orca has to go through Spell Immunity, go through a lot of the saves, if you want it on Lilgun, is gone. And that just never scales down. That's the one big issue with Necrophos. It feels like they've rebalanced Reaper's Sight, right? Like, so you don't make it frustrating to play against because, hey, you get Reaper's Sight, you go to Facebook. And now, I don't think it's been buffed enough. Like, 120 across each level is kind of too long. For what it does, it's a single target lockdown, half your HP nuke. It scales, fair, but the cooldown's really just way too long. So that's the one shortcoming for the Necrophos. I'm sure Crest would agree if he was listening, because he's a big Necrophos fan. Fortunately, the Frog does not see it that way, Mike.
I don't enjoy going against Necrophos, so I'm not going to defend this hero. I'll be honest, John.
Hey, but you don't need to Facebook anymore, you know? It's no more, you know, it used to be in a pub, you're playing with your friends, you get Reaper's Sight, they die, they just yell, Facebook, nah. You know, they tab out, you're done. 2 minutes away, you know, what can you do?
Oh, BT Faded top lane, he'll defend. A lot of heroes around from Lilgun, but without the Aegis, you're not going to feel quite as confident to make the jump in. That's kind of where the greatness of that play does come in from Citrus, right? Is it makes you have to wait for another Roshan. And at the end of the day, while you do have this right-click Ember build-up going, it doesn't necessarily guarantee you the win. You saw how quickly Citrus can delete this Ember if he does catch him out in the right moment. And at the end of the day, while Medusa doesn't feel quite as strong yet, it is still a Medusa going into this late game.
Yep, it can still scale up, but I just don't know if VT Faded's farming enough to really keep that pacing. Like, he's still number 4 in the net worth, he still lacks damage, and we've seen it again before us. They make a play.
They've got him, menu ping, still struggling quite a lot on the screen. Can they go high ground? It seems like they're going to try it. Nullifier up on 4-2-3 to make it even more annoying to try and run from his creeps and him, as we are going to have another pause out. Quick pause, though. The go-ahead is there from Yif. In fact, he gives the sorry, but now Lilgun want the pause.
Yep, it is what it is. Southeast Asian internet, or yeah, and Mongolian internet as well. The lines to Southeast Asia are a complicated process. But yeah, I think they can just go high ground, Mike. No, nothing stopping this with the huge creep wave they have, with a Thunderhide creep, giving them frenzy to get that push going. This is where Orca's lineup can shine. Arena to defense, Stone Gaze, the split shot coming through from Medusa can reduce that creep wave fast. We'll have to see how much they commit for that defense, though.
Oh, here we go again. Jump in Sanctity. He'll get rid of the Medusa illusions. GY will try to slow this down as much as possible. And in the end, again, Lilgun, they just wanted to force the rotations, force Orca back to their base. It doesn't seem like they're willing to commit, just in case they throw the game back the other way. And again, I think you are just waiting on that next Roshan before you really go high ground properly.
Yeah, just play it safe. No need to rush. No need to give that opening out to Orca. Just play it slow. You're already shutting down a lot of the map anyway from the side of Orca, so they don't really have any space to play outside right now. And that will mean that, again, that farm that the Medusa needs to find isn't coming easy for the side of Orca. 9-19, 7k lead for Lilgun. The BKB is coming out for Sanctity, not too far off. He could still opt to finish up the Daedalus first. Could go either way. The Scotty is up and running for VT Faded, so that's one tool up. Needs a lot more. BKB needs to come out for protection. Crystallis, Daedalus needs to come out for the damage. And that's more time for Orca that they have to just kind of spend cooped up in their high ground and slowly build up.
It's not that crazy of a net worth lead either, right? Like, only 6k at 31 minutes. It's not too big of a deal for Team Orca, but it's just the drafting almost, right? That it feels like Lilgun just have a superior draft at almost every stage of the game. Like, I keep saying, like, yeah, Medusa, yeah, Necrophos, but Sanctity, I mean, he's going to start hitting extremely hard. He already is. Once he has that Daedalus up, I mean, what the hell do you do? You just one slide of fist with a Battle Fury? My goodness.
Yep. It's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, a lot of pressure, in this case, the Citrus. As you've pointed out, Reaper's Sight is probably their best tool to lock in the Ember to get that burst off. And I don't know if that's still going to be really strong with a BKB coming through. You have to remember, Reaper's Sight no longer pierces spell immunity. So, yeah, that's the shortcoming of Necrophos. It feels like you've nerfed Reaper's Sight, you've changed it a lot, and now it just doesn't do as much. It's a very greedy spell, and what it gives to the team, higher regen on Necrophos, who doesn't have the best strength scaling anyway, so natural EHP isn't high, natural armor isn't high with his Agi gain. It's just a very strange hero right now, Mike.
And you ping. Good position to break the smoke as the tree. Immediate TP out as well. 11. No, he's not going to check. He didn't want to go for the blind burrow strike. They're still looking around, but they're not going to find him anymore. He's gone. Sometimes you've just got to go for the blind stun if you can, and well, he doesn't take the risk. Not early enough anyway.
Play it safe and just take control back in the lanes. I think what Orca was trying, just shoving in bot, getting some farm while they can, clearing out their bot jungle was probably the best thing they could hope for. But now they have to deal with that BKB on Sanctity. So again, that issue of their lockdown being from the Necrophos with a Reaper's Sight, not going to be so easy for him to get that instant jump onto the Ember at this point with a BKB to protect. We'll have to see how Citrus plays it and how much more they can get on VT Faded. Number 3 in net for it. Not too far behind Sanctity. Again, it's not the worst game for Dedusa, but it's also not what you expect. And that Roshan's only about half a minute away until we see the respawn here, Mike. So, Lilgun kind of just lined up to keep that control in the triangle and go for another Roche play. Not going to be too complicated once that's up.
I mean, it's still 20 seconds away till we find out when Roshan does respawn. Obviously, Lilgun probably hoping for a bit of an earlier timer here, as they've got a massive advantage, at least in terms of map control right now, just controlling the area around the Roshan on both sides of the map. And Sanctity, he really wants the early Roche. He's kind of mistimed the spawn timer, and it's going to be long anyway. 2.5 minutes. A bit of a gift here for Orca, because they certainly need the time. And in that time, they've gotten a BKB up on BT Faded, but I'm just going to go ahead and say, John, I don't think that's anywhere near enough to be able to contest.
No, I mean, at the least, you're not going to be locked in from the control of Lilgun. The magic damage coming through from the Sand King and Snapfire aren't going to be a factor. Then you have to worry about the right clicks coming through from our Lycan and Ember anyway, which, as you've pointed out, it's already ridiculous on Sanctity. And that in that 2-minute period, we could just see the full data list coming out for Sanctity as well. I don't see Orca taking an aggressive position anytime soon. They're still playing very defensively on their top bot jungle and bot lane, but they will go for a smoke play here.
Well, they're going to try Sanctity. He'll be a massive pickup if they can get it. They won't. We will run out at the right time. Roshan still being checked every few seconds, but again, very unfortunate timing here for Lilgun. It does give plenty of time though for Sanctity to finish off that Daedalus, and it just, yeah, it's just so much damage. I guess at least Citrus is pretty tanky on the Necrophos now with his own Heart of Tarrasque. About 3k HP almost, but it's not enough. I mean, he's going to land the perfect Reaper Scythe, and they've got to just make sure Sanctity explodes. And the thing is, you're going to have to do that against an Aegis anyway. Because right now, they are just staying well and truly far away from the Roshan pit on the side of Orca. As we are going to have another pause coming out. Jeez.
Yep.
You know, we may as well talk about something else while this is happening. John, Boom Esports game number 1 win.
Yes. Yes. I saw it on my phone. It's down there. Just taking a glimpse sometimes, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy, and I'm also like mildly upset. We have so much good Southeast Asian Dota happening at the same time. So, you know, if you have multiple mantras, make sure to have both games up. It's a great series across these 2 tournaments, Mike. But I am so happy.
Yeah,
I'm so happy for Japoy and the rest of Boom. I'm hoping that, because Kyle had the right pronunciation, I'm hoping the rest of the talent has picked up. So when I wonder if Japoy will even talk, because he's very hesitant, even on media day. And I'm like, all right, it's time for you, Japoy. He's like, please don't give me easy questions. I'm like, geez, guy, you know, this is an English class. You don't need to worry. I'm not gonna make you look bad, or editors will cut it out well for you. You know, it's I feel like a teacher intimidating a student when I talk to him, like for interviews. It's just like that. He's just so shy.
Yeah. We do have the go-ahead. Thank you for that, John. Very nice story. 1 minute left for the Roshan to respawn. Lilgun. Again, still just controlling the right side of the map where you are going to see Roshan respawning. And, well, again, I don't think the side of Orca are going to even try to contest this. I don't think they can win in this Roshan fight. And problem is, if you don't contest, you're gonna kind of struggle to deal with the Ember Aegis, or rather, the Aegis on the Ember.
Yep. Those 2 lives are going to be painful. The BKB as well, and I just don't see how you get a good Reaper Scythe with Aegis and BKB, because you can't pierce spell immunity anymore. It's just really awkward for the Necrosis playing skills on. It's all behind VT Faded. I think the one big item Orca has coming out is Menyo Ping's Blink. So Treant with Blink, Overgrowth Initiation is going to be good. And he is getting that steady build-up on the bot lane. And that will allow them some big plays for the high ground defense and maybe even contesting Roche here.
Uh-oh, Sanctity, he's been caught. That's the big one. He's not dead, though.
Oh, no.
They don't have the damage, and now 11's rotated over on the Sand King. He's got the double stun out as well. Into the cookie, into the epicenter, just throwing everything at Citrus. Nullifier just in case, and Citrus, he's not moving. On the bright side, I guess Orca did kind of delay the Roshan taking from Lilgun, but I imagine they'll run their way over now and take it.
Yeah, not going to take too long for them to make their way there. On the edge for Sanctity, he's just too tanky. It goes back to that point. They don't have the burst. You have a Dusa with durability items and only Crystallis. Burst damage not coming out there. Your Mars can't really burst down as well. Your Necrophos doesn't have anything like a Dagon. So the instant sight kill is just not there. And as you mentioned, Mike, Roche does begin for Lilgun. They can't fight. They have to hold high ground now on Orca's end. They can't play with Arena, they can't play with Overgrowth and the Stone Gaze. They have to execute perfectly, punish Lilgun for overextending in that next siege. But with that option for the lives up on Sanctity and even the Ag Shard, that's a lot easier said than done. We'll have to see how Orca plays. They've been playing really well, especially in their last series, so we can't count them out yet, but it is looking harder and harder as this game goes on, Mike.
That it is. And here comes the high ground attempt. I mean, Orca, at least they're going to have Citrus up in 20. So he won't have to watch his tier 3 downtime. Oh boy, VT faded. He's been burrow striked up. He's going to stand his ground though, and he's going to be fine. Not sure what they were intending with that burrow strike initiation. I thought they may have moved in. The Sanctity has onto menu ping, but he'll remnant right back out. Very back and forth, just poking and prodding from Lilgun.
Oh my god.
What is it, John?
Look at this, Mike. Go on to Sanctity. See what he has queued? There we go.
He's gonna divide right. I mean, why not?
He's done.
Why not?
Yeah. You get a good cleave, you get a crit as well.
He
They're
needs
all
some more
dead
slots though,
if
John.
that happens. What is he? They dump the boots, I guess. Dump the boots, you don't need them. Just get the damage with Slight Fist and have a remnant for defense as Yopaj does, and watch them melt once that's up. Or, you know, just wait for Aegis. But yeah, I think Boots is going to be tossed. Or, yeah, I'd say Deso, but you're right, Click Ember. It's still important for the Mines. Armor smoke out from Orca, forcing the fight outside. Remember, this is into Aegis, Mike. This is a bit of a difficult spot. Maybe just a warding run in the end here.
Maybe. Now, Lilgun still not really going high ground. I mean, they are being very cautious with the way they play this. The high ground defense is very, very good, to be fair, from Orca. VT Faded still trying to get some more damage up on the Doosa to really be able to kind of hit back at Lilgun. It's GY is going to find out a Grimstroke, and you'll see Citrus immediately jump in for a Reaper Sight. Though Sanctity, quick rotations, but GY, a lot of ATOS is there from Yif. GY, he's just going to BKB TP. He won't stick around. They just can't deal with the Ember right now. Not without Reaper Sight. So they take what they can get.
It's something. It's not the big kill, but it is buying them some time from Lilgun's aggression. So Lilgun, there's pressure to make something happen with his Aegis, Yif.
Yeah. He has time lapse. He does use it in the end, but now he's kind of between a rock and a hard place. Kishka doesn't land the cookie, but gets the dust and a great blink towards the other side, forcing Yif to pop his own BKB. But now the chase is on. 4-2-3 is there with so much damage, but it's not going to be enough. Very close call, but not quite for Lilgun. And you've got to give credit to Orca, John. They're doing a great job wasting quite a bit of time, and this is all time that is just slowly allowing that Aegis to tick away. And you know, if the Aegis is gone, chances are Lilgun are going to wait for the next Roshan.
Yep. They're going to have to wait for that second life on the Ember. Don't want to risk it here up against Orca. If they do find the opening, they can start to snowball back. The Daedalus now done on BT Faded as well. So the damage issues we were talking about are sort of alleviated on that Medusa. You have a ton more to show in your forward presence here. Lilgun, I feel like they just need to commit as a team. Like, while Aegis is up, just run up, get the damage off. They might be waiting for the Divine Rapier. I don't know if you really need to wait for it. It doesn't feel like it. You can just force the issue a lot earlier on. They are looking to respond to a bit of that split push. Kishka's watching top lane for a bit. Doesn't have the backup scores yet. The other lanes are controlled pretty well. So it's not too much coming out from Orca. But again, more time is better here for the Deuce draft. And Lilgun are not really getting value from the Aegis. 1 minute left. Sanctity, that window for the high ground siege is growing smaller here.
14k net worth lead for Lilgun. Are they really just going to wait for the Divine Rapier to be up? Like, is that where we've gone with this? Like, Sanctity just wants Divine before he calls this game. Or rather, not calls it, but just wins this game. Or is it going to come back to bite them? I mean, I'm sure VT Faded would really enjoy a free Divine Rapier right now. And speaking of, we might even have another, because Kishka has got the Daedalus up with a level 25. So he's got all the talents going on the Snapfire all of a sudden. And now it's like, it feels like Lilgun have just had fun, just waiting for these 25s to be up. And I think we are legitimately just waiting for Sanctity to have the Divine up.
I'm excited for the Divine, Mike. but I'm more excited for Basher and Kishka. Little Shredder multi-shot, and it will apply your unique attack modifiers. So, 3-man bash from range with crits? Hell yeah. I'm all in for that.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah, there you go. Build it up. Let's see if they actually wait that long. Aegis does expire. Smoke on smoke. Orca could find a good angle on that high ground here.
Team Orca scan out. They're going to find Lilgun around the Roshan pit. Take the time to get some wards down, which is something that they haven't been able to do for quite a while now. Just being completely blind across the map, but they can finally get a bit of time for these wards. And surprisingly enough, Lilguns are the ones to back. But it seems like Sanctity, he's not going to buy out the Divine either, John. He's just going to kind of have that as the emergency item if necessary, it seems.
Yeah. I guess it is a risk, so play it safe. Maybe waiting for buyback gold plus Divine gold. And it's not too far off until he gets that. Maybe around 2,000 gold until that's all said and done. So just a little bit more waiting to do. Keen to see what else we see coming out from Orca. Satanic is being built up by VT Faded, so some sustain in the middle of the team fight is going to be big. We are seeing the refresh for GY. And I believe Citrus is already feeling great with the Shiva. So he does have the HP now to play around with all of that bonus HP coming through from Reaper's Sight, along with a heart, 110 HP per second with a heart active running. It's a lot. So they have a lot of presence now on the side of Orca. All they need to do is find that opening, Mike. And this game is still a stone throws away from either side finding that momentum back.
Very, very kind of slow game now between these two. 44 minutes in. We're at 10-21.
Aw. It's disappointing. Sanctity went for the overwhelming blink, so no Divine.
They jumped in. They've got the Weaver. Be a very easy kill on Yif. See if that's enough for 4-2-3 in the gang to start moving into the base. I'm really starting to wonder at what point do they feel comfortable. It doesn't seem like they're moving anytime soon, though. It might literally be a matter of next Roshan, as they do find menu ping now. Burrow Strike's going to be there from 11. Into the Sandstorm, and with that, that'll be Kish going to follow up, and he's got plenty of damage with his own Daedalus. It's gotten to the point now where Citrus just starts buying out Dagons. Like, what else is he meant to do?
Not much. Like, there's really not much more you can build up on Necrophos. You could maybe make an argument for the Ags. Doesn't feel that pertinent here. Dagon's really your best play. Nuke down Ember, get the Reaper's Sight, hope for enough damage in that window, and just instantly remove that aspect from the team fight. Still, the Basher is up on Kishka, so let's see how lucky he gets with a little Shredder. And they've also got the Ags up and running on Ace 12, so Dark Portrait is up. That Dusa can turn against them here on the side of Orca.
I mean, not that they need it right now, John, that's for sure. But I suppose why not, right? Like, just get a 6th man going. It's BT Faded. He's going to get chained up. There's your Dark Portrait out. BT now needs to back off, but the Burrow Strike back the other way as the arena is down from GY. It's not doing enough, however. BT needs some help, but he's not going to get it. Not on that Dusa. He's got no buyback either, John. And that might just be it. GY, he's going to drop. Hands are up from Sanctity. And it's GG. Citrus has seen enough this game one.
It's just a strong performance coming out from Lilgun. We talked about it at the start of the draft, Mike. Lilgun is a team that sort of feels like you pick your poison. Do you let them get off with the TA? Do you let them get off with Broodmother, the Spirit Breaker? In this case, they allowed both Lycan and Grimstroke, and that's the tricky part. If you first phase ban Lycan Grimstroke, that leaves the Broodmother, the Husker, the TA, the Spirit Breaker, the OD. I'm keen to see how Orca adjusts. Does this make the Lycan and Grimstroke priority bans now? Because that'll leave everything else for Lilgun. And for Lilgun's part, they just play really clean. And they have this strong performance come out. They shift lanes, putting 4-2-3 on the mid Lycan to really shut down Citrus. And it just snowballed off from there. So again, we have to see those adjustments out from Orca for Lilgun. Looking good so far here, Mike. Going in with the advantage in the best of 5. It feels like they've got momentum on their back now.
It certainly does, John. We are going to head to a short 10-minute break, though, and run after that 10-minute break, we'll be back with Game 2 of this best of 5 grand final between Team Orca and Lilgun.